So, welcome to Silverbow Publishing's virtual launch for Color Fielding by Penn Kemp. We're excited that you're here to join us to celebrate this new release today. My name is Megan Hakkinen. I am a two-time ultra cycling world champion and the author of two adventure memoirs. Silverbow Publishing is a Canadian publishing company that releases 20 to 30 books per year by international writers in the genres of fiction, poetry, and nonfiction. Candice James is at the helm of Silverbow as general manager, and I'd like to invite her to share a few words about working with the poet before we begin. We'll have time for some questions and discussion near the end. So, welcome, Candice.
Ah, you did it, Megan. I couldn't unmute myself. Mind you, a lot of people would wish I'd stay muted many times in my life. All I can say is Color Feeling. Great, great book. Beautiful, beautiful paintings in it. And of course, absolutely terrific poetry. Penn is a force of her own, and she is really good to work with and such a talent. And the book really is, in my opinion, the best one she's ever done. And I hope people will support her and buy it. It's about all I can say there. Handed it back to you, Megan.
Thanks, Candice. You can order Color Fielding at local retail bookstores and libraries worldwide, or from the publisher through the Silverbow website. The ebook version is available on Amazon, and I'll put Silverbow's website and purchase links in the chat. So I think that's all the technical kind of stuff. I'm really excited to introduce Penn. Penn Kemp, poet and playwright, has participated in Canadian cultural life for 60 years, writing, editing, and publishing poetry, fiction, and plays. She shares the richness of her experience through a unique use of word, sound, imagery, and symbolism. Her work explores environmental and feminist concerns, though she is best known as a sound poet. The League of Canadian Poets honored her with their initial Lifetime Achievement Award, which I think deserves a round of applause. That's pretty special. Delighting in multimedia, Penn is active across the web. To introduce this book, I just wanted to share a few words from one of the early reviews. So this is from Shannon Thiessen, author of Refabulations, Selected Longer Poems. Color Fielding is Penn Kemp's Arts Poetica, strong and believing. Her particular way of seeing, speaking is fascinating. I love the authority, the thought of these poems. So important. The phrase between thrum and shimmer encapsulates her work well. Welcome, Penn. I'll hand things over to you now, and I'm sure we're all in for a treat.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you to Silverbow for publishing such a gorgeous, gorgeous book. It's got a painting by Greg Curnow, local London artist, internationally known on the cover, thanks to Sheila Curnow, and a painting of his famous bike on the back, and six paintings by my father, including the goddess that presides over my living room on throughout. So I'm it's in seven sections, and I'm going to read a little from each section. Each section is prefaced by one of my father's paintings. So I grew up in London, Ontario, and it was an interesting time to grow up in the early 60s when things were moving from a very militaristic military base that was London. And because Dad was a painter, I was involved with the art scene from very early on, including the group of seven, several of the group of seven, not all seven. So I'm going to start with a visit from, it's called When Dignitaries Visit. Several elderly paintings. Sorry, I will begin again. When dignitaries visit. Several elderly painters from the group of 7 came to my parents' parties. Dad, a practical joker, had me at 10 serve them cocktails and for nibblies, chocolate-covered grasshoppers. Identity undisclosed until my tray was empty. No one asked for seconds. But the rush was on to fill those empty glasses in a flurry of coughs I feared would kill them. In the 50s, they'd be in their 70s, ancient and frail as crickets. This is another Joe poem, and it's prefaced by a photograph from, not quite sure of the date. It's a section that begins the book called Very Local Heroes. And it is my dad as Old Father Time with Claire Bice, who is a very upstanding museum curator in London, as the baby, the New Year's babe. At the Beaux-Arts Ball, come as a famous couple, the invitation requested for this New Year's fancy ball. Jim Kemp and curator Claire Bice complied. Dad, dressed as Old Father Time in gray Moroccan kaftan, face etched in wrinkles, leaning on a wooden staff he had polished for the occasion. Humor his usual feint in contemplating mortality after a severe coronary at age 40. Ever the existentialist at heart. Bice, the bastion of conservative art and the bane of Greg Kernow's cohort, appeared as the New Year babe in diapers. The wives, Anne and Marion, showed up as their nurses, the customary role ongoing. I have the pic to prove it, but my question is, how would they dance the New Year in? This is one of the poems that Teresa Smollett published in Public Reverie, and it's for Tony Urquhart, who the family knew well, because he was the first artist in residence at Western. This bearded Aries wonderkind burst from his funeral parlor berth in Niagara Falls to light Western's art department as first artist in residence. His is the only class I've ever taken in drawing. He had to sit before a TV and observe, then carefully choose one moment to commit to paper, a flash of fast freehand action, freeze framed. As through the decades, he drew inspiration daily for whichever art form appealed. He, master of so many, mentor and friend to more, including my family, here's celebrating nearly 90 years of life lived in art, in community, and in joy. We seem to have skipped quite a few poems here. Oh, I did want to read this. There is a section here from a chapbook called Gathering Voices that I did with Gloria Mulcahy. And my section was devoted to 3 women painters, and it came from a show that you may have seen or heard of 25 years ago at the McMichael Gallery for Frida Kahlo, Carr, and O'Keeffe. So I wrote this trilogy for them. And here's a couple for you. This is part of a long poem for Frida. Confessions of mute rage flicker phosphorescent over Sargasso's obsessed sea. Her heart opens like a sacred heart of Jesus to reveal Diego Rivera. Her third eye, a bronze medallion of Maria, gleams so curiously blind to its own reflection before that ongoing inquisition of other eyes, eyes she sought so long. Just try to forget me now. I dare you. Double dare. Already my art has outlived all you onlookers of this ostensible life. Then years later, I was at the Scarab Club in Detroit for a reading and reading that long poem. And this happened at the Scarab Club. Invited to Detroit's Venerable Scarab Club, I end my reading with On Exhibit. Just as I come to the line where Frida reads, Diego Rivera, I glance up. There, on the great wooden beam above my head, is written in what looks like chalk or white paint, Rivera's signature. Thinking I must be hallucinating, I point out the line to the audience for confirmation. No one else sees it. Thanking us, though, our host tells the story of the rafter signature. Yes, it is Diego's. He and Frida would often frequent the Scarab Club in the years they lived in Detroit when Diego was painting his murals. And now the couple zoom back, collaborating in a synchronous spirit of poetry and paint to empower this flash of connection. Frida, live. Oh, these poems I'm passing over are the best, but you'll just have to buy the book. This is from a sound opera called Trance Dance Form that I performed with Anne Anglin, who directed it. We performed it at Harbourfront and Véhicule Gallery in Montreal and other places. Good of a cup. In the process of making, she throws the clay to center on the wheel. Meditation in action. If she throws off center, nothing wrong with the clay, nothing wrong with the wheel, but the clay flies abandoned to circumference. Patience. When the pot turns out, we are her vessel, pouring here to air. Skin no longer holds us in. Breath evaporates and green shoots blue flashes, forgetting all outline. I offer my muse one object, another, out there, breathing. And then for show, the pot breaks, empty in, empty outside. And what is the good of a cup that cannot contain? Space is blue, lotus blue. We are space. So I showed you the picture of the poem that I am going to read now in the section called ekphrastics. And ekphrastics are poems or works of art that talk about other works of art from different media. Bass on the grass. After a painting by Paris gave a Clark. We have been fluid mercury in a mess of waterweed, swimming cross current. We know to elude the net, a web small intricacy, the line we avoid, until a play of sun on water constellates as damselfly wary. We approach and bite the trick of flattery. Bright, searing metal is our last whim. We are lifted high, swimming astonished into air, caught by diviners. Frantic we fall through streams of light, swirling blind and gasping. The line holds. What will sustain us after eons of pooled silence? What service awaits? We scry so little underwater, or on this unnatural resting place where up and down dissolves. Long lines no longer connect us. Weeds around us flower and are still. And going back then to the first section, a couple of poems for Jack Chambers, who was the most beautiful when I was 16, a man that I had ever seen. And he had just returned from a sojourn where he learned painting and married his wife. And this is a poem after Velázquez. Jack Chambers epitomized romance. Yes, to those Byronic, flashing eyes, his noble Roman profile and Castilian lisp, acquired while living in Spain. Abroad. Home again, he'd perched by my father's easel to talk philosophy, existentialism, on being and essence, I did not know, but basked in his aura since I was allowed to sit in, enthralled by words, the man, a life lived outside our little London, in his much wider world. So cosmopolitan. Jack elegantly, urbanely spoke theories into his art, inventing new terms for what needed expression. Perceptual realism to perceptualism, their meaning lived out in his work. And the second poem for Jack. Suppose. Jack drew fine charcoal portraits at Art Mart's November meet, just $5 for a good cause. Assuming the pose of a poet, I gazed off to unfocused distance and poetic dimensions, far from the mundane. Thus he drew me, chin thrust in the foregrounded perspective of my vain 16. My father attempted correcting my chin at its angle of incidence, smearing the charcoal to smudge. But he only succeeded in blurring Jack's outline. Annoyed, he tossed the ruined drawing into the trash. Thus I lost my only chance to be so immortalized by this universal painter until I resurrect a single scrap of recall in this page for Jack. get one for Greg. There's a long one here. Okay. Traveling Lights. For Greg Curnow. November 9, 1936 to November 14, 1992. Over and over, Greg paints the archetypal bike, color wheels spinning so fast that hues stream away, are lost in blur, like his life. He paints the bike in the sky and the freedom of the road, then riding her to the flock of cyclists. He is knocked down by a truck driver, entranced by the luminous valley. Fields flooded in the long light of this chill November day. In the sudden sun. The awful irony of aesthetics. Not only living and dying by the bike, but by the art of illusion. The driver, distracted by beauty, by surprising, surreal impossibility. A barn in the near distance appeared to float in air on vast pools of reflection. Distracted to death by mere mirage. He must have craned his neck because 700 meters were clear before him in which to spot the cyclists. He must be inexperienced because instead of braking, he guns the accelerator and roars up the incline, taking out 6 cyclists. No charges will be laid because cyclists are by law required to travel single file, despite the Ontario Cyclists Association's protest that 2 columns are safer. So these cyclists rode in 2 lanes. Gray was the last of the outside column, riding shotgun, taking the road's risk to protect his gang. En route to hospital, a song plays on the radio. Love my little Sheila, his own wife and muse. She does not yet know. The day after the funeral, Greg would have been 56. He would be turning 90 now. Imagine him, still holding forth, holding on, staying put, muttering, eccentric. He created his own center. The wheels of his bike are still spinning orange and complementary. Blue onto the page, the pavement. And pigment on canvas, vivid as his tattered sweater, his legacy, our heritage in old deeds, in stuff, whose singularity he chose to honor and display as serious games of play, devoted to place, his place. Greg ascends in stature, despite another irony that our word prestige stems from Latin prestigium, meaning delusion, illusion, or trick. A shift Greg would have admired. After there will be no more, odd characters invade the paintings. Lurching out of motherlode, they slide off smooth banks to the open pond white paper makes, cavorting seal slick in breakers between home and hold. Scrolled letters sparkle currents of glyph on the open pond white paper makes. What? I've repeated that. Between home and hold, that whole verse is repeated. Greg may be contemplating life from his studio. He may still be painting fast watercolors, cerulean blue beside our pool. Fantasy floats in layered brightness, breathing bands in and out, and then not. The traveling light of attention shines on disparate objects, lit by his restless, roaming curiosity, even after his own bike reflector is blown out. Polished obsessions unravel on shelves for whoever is there where he was. What remains is the reach from pen to paper to record the procession of cyclists riding together alongside, figures arising from the mist to mesmerize the driver behind them, who followed the illusion of art turned against itself. Here's another painting by my father. Dad was very much into existentialism and Zen. This is a very Zen piece that I love. The last section is called Light Eaters. Oh, because it's spring, I'll read this poem for the Magdalene. Recall. Lavender spikes rampant as cliche bounds and garden gnomes. We drink somewhat musty ginger tea. Second cups await, red rubus with mint and lemon balm I've just plucked. Magdalene might know this tonic, or others like it. Her Tyrian turban that painters so proudly display as her nearly royal emblem might bob through the fields as she gathers, though she would have had servants harvesting that fine curved hand not browned by sun. Her name day conjures presence on waves of prayer, a magenta iconography purpling, similars, signature, like calls to like, out of time. Speaking harmonies, chords lift, a decorum wealth bestows, lush richness suggesting florid abundance, ungent jars. She's always depicted wrapped, contained, and wrapped. Cups of tea curl by her side, steam rising like plumage, her turban's oriental coils. 22 is the master number in Hebrew, a vibration that opens time with broad strokes, beyond the moment, to more universal scope. But butterfly bush flowers in her honor now. Echinacea flourishes, blossom and root, for her medicinals, wise woman of herbs, of mystery. Sing your secrets through us. Lady, we are listening, then and now. Now and then, when we remember, when your name day reminds. How's the time? Megan, can you tell me how long I've been reading?
I have been too enraptured in your words to be counting minutes, so I feel like it's poet's choice. We would love to hear a couple more.
All right. So Mary Magdalene to Dante Gabriele Rossetti. Even though one hand needs to hold it back, I have let down my hair for you. But what am I doing sulking viridescent and regarding you as complicit in guilt? Are you about to remove my silver jar, its letters engraved? Read me if you dare. Why else do I clutch an emu egg to heart as if it were the true philosopher's stone? Why are sweet pinkish petals of an enemy behind me 4 or sometimes 5? Do they grow out of my gown? The one I admire, with gold design around the collar. You know the atomic emblem my sport below my arm revolves in eternal whirl, just the way my hair entangles you. In fine tentacles you wish were yours to hold. No, they are mine. What shadow falls across my throat? By what sunlight am I so oddly lit? I am not burdened with lost love, as you, the painter, would depict me. Mildly sorrowful, meekly chastising you for doing away with my lord and master. Am I your housemate or your beloved? Let me talk to you. Do not look away. Rossetti, you seem to have confused me with your own small love. A girl snatched from the street, dead too young. Your muse, Lizzie Siddle. She was an artist and poet too. Do you remember her for her work or for her vermilion hair, her face? You can't exhume me as you did her. You with your false nostalgia for times that never were. If only things turned differently for us all, not this Uchronia, this old story of what might have been. And conveniently, I am turning to the last poem called Titian. If it were juice, I like cranberry tinged with grape. If wine, a sauterne, a bubbling rosé. If essential oil, neroli, the taste of tangerine. If scent, what the wind carries from May blossoms, hawthorn and lilac, lily of the valley intermingled. Confusion of delight, ripe and ready to turn from cinnamon to ginger. A vibration above ultraviolet where illusions of color shape rainbow possibilities, glinting between memories, strawberry blonde aging well to ash, auburn, chestnut, carrot, scarlet, flame. Hey, red.
Thank you for that lively reading, Penn. It was a joy to hear you move through the book. And I love how you cheekily said, like, oh, I'm passing over all the good ones here. You'll have to
Yes.
buy it.
Yes.
I was laughing.
We can always go back if you've got another hour.
I really enjoyed
You'll have to find that Zoom hand